वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, Text 12. Sri Shuka Uvacha Vacho Nishamya Nandasya Tatanyesham Vrajanukaksham Indraya Manyum Janayan Pitram Praha Keshava. Shri Sukha Uvacha Vacho Nishamya Nandasya Tatayesham Vrajanukshama Indraya Manyau Janayan Pitram Prahara Keshava. Shri Shuka Uvacha Vacho Nishamya Nandasya Tatanyesham Vrajanukshama Indraya Manyau Janaya Pitram Prahara Keshava. Shri Sukha Uvacha Vacho Nishamya Nandasya Tatanyeshama Vrajanukshama Indraya Manyau Janayan Pitram Prahara Keshava. Mataji's. Shri Sukha Uvacha. Shri Sukadev Goswami said, Vachaha, the words, Nishamya, hearing, Nandasya, of Maharaj Nanda, Tatha, and also, Anyesham, of the others, Vraja Oksham, the residents of Vraja, Indraya, in Lord Indra, Manyum, anger, Janayan, generating, Pitram, to his father, Praha, spoke, Keshava, Lord Keshav. Translation: Sukadeva Goswami said, when Lord Keshav, Krishna, heard the statement of his father Nanda and other senior residents of Vraja, he addressed his father as follows to arouse anger in Lord Indra. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sri Sridhar Swami explains that Lord Krishna's intention was not simply to insult a demigod, but rather to knock down the great mountain of false pride that had arisen within the Lord's tiny servant, who was supposed to represent the Lord as Indra. By lifting Govardhan hill, Lord Krishna would thus initiate a blissful annual festival called Govardhan Puja, and he would further enjoy the pleasant pastime of dwelling for several days beneath all the hill with all his loving devotees. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we are continuing our discussion on this very famous pastime of the Lord. By far, the pastime as famous as Lord Krishna himself, Giri Varadhari. In Vrindavan, we go. This is the most famous pastime of the Lord. The whole place, Govardhan, which is one of the most important places in Vrindavan, became Govardhan important place because of this pastime. So we are at the junction of three instances. If you see, when you travel, you come to sometimes three junctions, three roads converging at one point. So here is the situation, this particular verse which is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami. He is giving his understanding, he is giving like his own small but very important understanding of what is going to happen very soon. Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but a narration by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and he is simply repeating what has happened as a discussion between different personalities. But obviously sometimes adds Sukadev Shri Sukha Uvacha. This is his words. He is telling now Parikshit Maharaj. Now, so this is basically a wonderful what we call conjunction. Every sentence, sometimes you want to a long sentence, there's a conjunction, there's a connection. When a speaker speaks, he adds these conjunctions to give the audience a proper understanding of what he is speaking. So in order for Parikshit Maharaj to understand, there's a deep meaning to it, because here Sukadeva Goswami is taking Parikshit Maharaj through this beautiful journey of the Srimad Bhagavatam, particularly now in the 10th canto, wherein he has spoken about the Gopi Vastraharan Leela, and then Krishna wanting to reciprocate immediately after Vastraharan Leela, wanting to reciprocate with the Brahmana, the wives of the Brahmanas. He immediately sends his friends to ask for the wives, and the whole pastime we have just heard. And while the Brahmanas have come, they have realized Krishna's glory, they are apologetic. And while the whole pastime is still in the same village where this Leela took place, as we understand it took place at Bhatrol or Akrura Ghat in Vrindavan, physically speaking, in the last pastime that Krishna did on this earth. And then immediately in the same village, he saw so much of activities happening. As we know, whenever there's a festival, Hindu festival or any festival of any religion, you find some unique activities that happen. For example, if we have Dasera coming up or any festival, then people want to tie this torans or this leaves and different things. So there you see people selling this torans all over. So the moment you go on the road, you see the festivity through this, and when you go in Diwali, everything is lit in the store. So there's festivity, you know that there's some festival happening. Because the activity is of a unique type. It is not a general hustle and bustle of the city, but there's some unique activity which is happening, which is connected to this festival. So Krishna saw there was some unique activity happening, which was unlike the normal, usual day in Vrindavan, that the Brijbasis were engaged in cooking large quantities of food, and they were doing some puja. So here we are in the conjunction of one side, Sukadeva Goswami just finished the Brahmana wives, and that pastime is ended. And then Krishna in his mind, because Krishna is ever active. And as we say, sometimes we at least I experience sometimes the mind is so fast. For most of us, the mind is always dwelling on sense gratification, at least for me, and we get exhausted. I said, mind, please stop thinking. Constantly thinking about how I can enjoy. Isn't it? One idea after another idea. And sometimes I don't know whether you all experience, but sometimes I feel exhausted just thinking. I said, no, stop thinking. But mind can't stop thinking. Because that's the nature of the mind, to think. Even while you are sleeping, it is super active. Thinking. And sometimes you want to just relax. I said, let it be a complete void, but it can be happen. But the supreme pure, Pavitra, Krishna, his mind is also super active, because try to understand, this mind is made in the image of the Lord. Everything that we have is the image of the Lord. So Krishna's mind is super active. He is always active, trying to serve and reciprocate with his devotees, as we discussed previous time when we spoke. To constantly reciprocate and serve his devotees. So while Krishna was singing the hustle bustle, as Krishna, one of the names of Krishna in the Vishnu Sahasranam is Chaturatma. We have Prabhupada disciple Chaturatma. We have also one of our friends who is Chaturatma. Chaturatma means what? Chaturatma means Chatur. Chatur means very, very intelligent. Can accomplish many things at one time. So we know, when we interact with people, there are people who are very simple people. They do one thing at a time. They do things slowly, perfectly. You can't tell them to do many things. They said, we'll do one thing at a time. There are some people who are very sly and crooked. They say something, but you don't know whether they mean what they say, and they will do what they say, and what they do, whether they have said it. So there's crooked people. So there are varieties of people. And some of the people you find are extremely accomplished and smart, intelligent people. They can achieve things. They can do things. They can get things done very fast. They can do multiple things, multitasking. Brilliant. In our own, why do the companies, they set up their campus interviews in big famous, management and engineering institutes? Because people with fertile brain substance who have been trained to think multitasking, they want such people because these guys can accomplish things. That's why they pay handsome salary right in the campus to recruit them, because they know the IITians and the IIMs and other institutes. Because these people can accomplish many things with their intelligence. Now, if you can imagine, if an ordinary human being can accomplish many things by his brain substance that has been provided by God. Recently, there was a girl who at the age of, there was a boy I read who at the age of 17, he's a doctor. He's passed his medical studies at the age of 17. There's a girl who is a lawyer at the age of 12. This is all in India, by the way. We should all understand that there's so much amazing things happening in India. I came early morning, I happened to go through one of my daughter's book. Early morning I was leaving at 3 o'clock. I just said, what is this book? I was going through, and then he was talking about one mathematician who was a failure. I don't forget his name. Ramanujan, somebody. He was a complete failure. He flunked in all his subjects. But he was such a brilliant, in 1920s, he was such a brilliant mathematician that he wrote some theorems that after almost 100 years, the people are understanding his theorems now. They're making some sense to people now, and he became the fellow of the Royal College of London and all these things. He got importance, but he didn't understand his theorems, he didn't understand his theories. Such fertile brain he had got. Just by thinking on numbers, he could really write theorems. And people after 100 years, and in crystallography, his theorems are very, very important now. After 100 years, they're understanding. So this is India. This most famous number, 0. Can you imagine arithmetic or math without 0? 0. Can you imagine without 0? But this whole 0 was a contribution by our own Indian mathematician Aryabhat. So how we are slowly understanding this U-turn theory. One of our great writers is writing about it. That what actually came from India, this Westerners, they took it, they gave it a Western touch, and they sent it back to India, thinking as if it is coming from West. But practically, thousands and thousands of theories which are famous, world famous, which are making the world run, are all originating from India. And at a later class, we will discuss about this. Not today. So we must understand that if a human being with a small, minute brain can be so brilliant that he can just see some numbers, even this Shakuntala Devi, she could just multiply some 25 numbers by 25 numbers, or maybe more, just by seeing them. That's how fertile brain Krishna has given us. But can you imagine the brain of Krishna? If Krishna wants to be intelligent and multitasking, accomplished, he can do so many things. Is the most genius person ever created. I mean, he is a creator. There's no question of ever created. So Krishna, he just saw these activities, and in a matter of few seconds, he could just connect everything. And he said, Indra. Something is wrong with Indra. So the one road is coming of the Brahmana wives. The second, we are at the junction of Krishna waiting to crush the mountain-like pride of Indra. That is another pastime. And Krishna simultaneously wants to enjoy wonderful pastimes with his coward friends. Every time they meet, Sambhoga. But when the night comes, Vipralamba with his coward friends. The coward friends say, Krishna, why is there night? We don't want to leave you. Why there should be a night? We want to play for the whole day. And the gopis are thinking, why there should be a day? But the moment day comes, Krishna leaves them and goes to his house. So every time between the gopis or the gopas or the friends in general, there's always Vipralamba. So Krishna didn't like this Vipralamba. So he said, let there be a time where we can be all together without any hindrance for as many days as possible. Krishna wanted to do that. And as explained in this purport, Krishna wanted to initiate a blissful annual festival. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, Madhavatithi bhakti janani jatane palana kori. He says that I with great devotion follow every single festival. Jatane palana kori. What is it? Madhavatithi. That the great festivals which are significant, wonderfully glorifying Lord Madhav, Lord Krishna. I want to follow this pastime. And what can be a more greater pastime than the Govardhan Puja? How festive is the festival? I mean, how elaborate is this festival? And Krishna wanted to initiate this. And let me start a beautiful festival. For rest of eternity, my devotees can celebrate once in a year this magnificent, fantastic festival. So Krishna, with his brilliance, Krishna wanted to, at the junction, Shukadeva Goswami, we are at the junction. Krishna is thinking of crushing the pride of Indra. Krishna has just, in the same village, he's seeing the activities. The pastime of the Brahmana wives has just ended. And at the same time, he's thinking that I want to have wonderful pastime with the Brijabasis. So in that junction, Shukadeva Goswami is adding this conjunction verse. He's saying, when Krishna heard the statement of his father Nanda and other senior residents of Vraja, he addressed his father as follows to arouse the anger of Indra. So he's giving his own junction. That why is Krishna doing what he's doing now? He's about to speak something. And by the way, the background is so and so. He's about to speak a very important statement. And what we'll be hearing will be an amazing statement. Krishna is going to enunciate the karma mimamsa philosophy. Which is quite strange. But Krishna does whatever he needs to do to accomplish his work. Because Krishna is a perfect accomplisher that he is. So he wanted to accomplish and crush the pride of Indra. So in this verse, it is very significant. Sridhar Swami is writing, one of the words which really hit us, I'm sure it hit you also, is, but rather to knock down the great mountain of false pride that had arisen within the Lord's tiny servant. Sridhar Swami is writing. The Lord's tiny servant Indra. I'm sure we know it, but it would be worth being aware for in the next 30 seconds of what it means to be Indra. Now, Indra, I'm sure we all would accept it is not an ordinary position. Many times because of hearing all these Bhagavatam stories in which this great personality is constantly seen as a person who acts strangely, we start making a judgment. Indra. That Indra. But, who is this Indra? We were just hearing, if you hear one of the classes I was hearing from Radhanath Maharaj, he said that it's not that you can become Indra by performing some small homa or some yagya. You do some, you do some yagya and you become Indra. And nowadays, small homa you do this. You have to perform elaborate yagya for days, for months, for years. Perfectly adheres the Vedic injunctions. And after intense hard work and much more, intense devotion, intense scholarship, intense purity, and intense everything that you are doing, intense attentiveness. When you are doing yagyas, I said in yagya when I got married, it was so fidgety, you are just doing, you are looking at everybody, and it's just one ordinary yagya. But in this, sometime in our initiation yagya also, it's such a divine important yagya, but we are just so fidgety. When will this get over? Because all of us are fasting. Initiation means you all are fasting when you are. So we want to get rid of this yagya. But when Indra performs, it's a huge yagya, and then after performing many such yagyas, he becomes Indra. So when and here Sridhar Swami is telling. Lord's tiny servant. Tiny. Prabhupada says teeny. Tiny servant. So it's important that this servant, even though he was tiny, he was very, very important. Because he was doing his service very, very nicely. Because Indra, his service is to give rain. And if rain is there, then things can remain alive. In last Sunday, Dwarkadish Prabhu was speaking about, things, if you don't have some things, what will happen? And he was just giving an example of, if the tongue becomes dry, if you have a dry tongue, you can't speak anything. You need your tongue to be moist constantly, otherwise your tongue can't speak. It will be like a block of wood. So you need moisture, water. Pani. Just imagine when you don't drink water for a day, it is so difficult. Janmashtami and all this time. He said, fine, at least drink water, but I don't want to eat, but drink water. So all the water that we need, Indra gives. And there cannot be any situation where he says, I don't want to give water this year. He can't be spaced out in his service. He has to be very intensely attentive in his service. So Indra is a very, very important position. But as is explained that with this importance comes a very, very dangerous quality. What is this words? Prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasya ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. What a brilliant sloka of Krishna. So appropriate and so wonderful, deep. Ahankara vimudatma. The person who has ahankar is a vimudatma. Is a fool. Kartaham iti manyate. That these activities are performed by me actually, but he thinks he's doing the activity. Because he's caught up in this the three modes of material nature. Prakriti kriya manani. Guna, by the ropes, he's bound. Ahankara vimudatma. He's just so proud. Kartaham iti manyate. So this false pride that we're talking about, and I'm sure as we go further, this quality will be discussed elaborately by all the wonderful speakers of this beautiful pastime. Because it's such an important pastime that we have, Shakshat, a form of the Lord to show this pastime. We don't have a form of the Lord stealing the gopis' clothes. It is important pastime, but there is no form made by Brajranab. Maybe it is there, but I don't know. I don't know for sure. But we have a form of Krishna dancing on Kaliya. As deity. Similarly, the form of Girivaradhari, Govardhandhari, it just signifies this beautiful pastime, where very significant. The mountain-like pride of Indra is explained here. So Krishna used a mountain to destroy the mountain-like pride of Indra. Quite interesting, isn't it? Because the pride is compared to be like a mountain. And it's not a mountain, it's not made overnight. It's not that, one fine day there's a flat land, next day you get up in the morning, there's a huge mountain there. Of course, I was studying, I can't explain to you, but I was studying how mountains are formed. Instead, I was trying to understand. I was reading geography, how mountains are formed. And it's, in simple words, by the motion of the earth, the two powerful layers, they come, and then there is no place to grow. So they go up. And there are 5 different types of mountains. Different types. Volcanic mountains and ash mountains. Different types I was reading. So some out of which are formed by just volcano. It erupts from the lava erupts from the earth's crust, and it just goes up, and then it just starts getting solidified, and that forms a mountain. So similarly, this formation of the mountain it takes practically thousands and thousands of years to get what we have mountains now. And similarly, this mountain-like pride of Indra, or for that matter, in any person, it takes years, layer after layer after layer after layer after layer after layer, and then slowly we have this gigantic mountain of pride. It is said that false pride destroys devotional service, it corrupts the heart, and Krishna doesn't really take anything important which is tinged by false pride. There was this, recently, I bought this very nice sitafal. Nowadays we are getting very good sitafal. And it looks big, with big eyes, and then it's going to be very pulpy. So I opened this, and then I opened one part, and it was really very sweet and wonderful. But as I opened it and I started eating too, then just on one corner I saw this big worm, this big. And I just threw that sitafal. Just seeing that worm was so disgusting. So I was just thinking at that time that this is what exactly Krishna must be feeling when we offer devotional service to him tinged with pride. He's feeling, oh, you are doing such nice devotion, so much nice preaching, and you are giving this nice offering to Krishna, and Krishna is enjoying, and then he sees pride. A worm of pride in that. He said, to hell with your service. Just throws it in the dustbin. Just discards it. Or as we have heard in the example, most beautiful form, but a small patch of white leprosy. If you have a beautiful face, but you have a small patch here. And the most articulate nose and the most beautiful lotus eyes. And the most beautiful ornate lips. And the most curly hair. Very attractive features. Beautiful voice. But you see, there is a white patch. Just loses all beauty. Finished. Similarly, my dear friends, Krishna, he cannot, the tons of service that Indra is offering to him, so much wonderful service, taking care of the universe as being the Devendra, the demigods of all demigods, the king of all demigods, wonderful service, taking care of the rains, very important service portfolio that he has given. But pride. She said that ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. That this ahankar is useless. So Krishna wanted to destroy this pride. There's a beautiful saying, he said that in general, pride is at the bottom of all great mistakes. Interesting. That you see at the bottom of all mistakes that have happened, at the bottom you will find pride as the mother of all mistakes, the mother of all anarthas. When a person is proud, he feels he does not need anyone. he has a strong feeling of, very important word, self-importance. In due course, he starts feeling that I am important. Self-importance becomes very, very prominent. And what are the characteristics of self-importance? That nothing, or at least things that I survey, things that I overlook, should not happen without my consent. It should not happen. I'm important. How can you do this without me? You didn't tell me this. Well, we were discussing many years back, a discussion about, the formation of the counseling system was happening, and there was discussion that should the counselees, just give an example, should the people whom we are trying to guide, when they go to a dham, should they ask the counselor? Some people said, of course they should ask, we are taking care of them. But the leader of the temple said, why should they ask you? If they are getting guided by so many people, if they are inspired to go, they don't need, it's not that they can act independently though. But this feeling of self-importance that everything you do, you made an investment in the bank, you didn't ask me. But what is this? It's simply nothing but self-importance. That you start feeling that I'm so very important. Indra went through that situation because of the layers that the mountain got created of pride, and he started feeling that I'm important. So how are these Brijbasis? Of course it's not yet come yet, the situation has not come yet, but Krishna wanted to create a situation that it is used here. He wanted to arouse, what is it, the word, generating anger. And Prabhupada uses in a poetic language, arouse anger. Krishna wanted to arouse the anger. Right? It's very interesting. Sometimes we know exactly people who are close to us. We exactly know what to speak to arouse their anger. And especially in husband and wife, at least I know, when there is some argument, the husband exactly knows what to speak to let loose the anger of the wife. You speak this and she goes crazy, and the wife knows exactly. For example, there's an argument that, you are not allowing me to chant. Let me chant. I'm so busy. Acha, chanting karte ho. Counseling meeting to badi baat karte ho. We're chanting at 10 o'clock. What is this chanting at 10 o'clock in the night? The husband goes mad. But because the wife knows, she wants to give some, she wants to give that prick. The stimulus. Similarly, when we are close to some friends, we know that this irritates him like anything. And you speak that thing. And that's going to irritate that person. You knew it. And Krishna is a brilliant, he's knower of everything. He knew exactly what if I do something will completely infuriate Indra. So he says that, why should you worship this Indra? That's what his plan was. And he exactly knew, he was sure 100%, this will 100% work. It's not Indra will say, "Theek hai yaar, is sal nahi hoga, theek hai." He knew it, that if I do this, this man will go crazy. And we all have experience, right? There's something in our life which is very, very vulnerable. We all have that boil. The whole body is not filled with boils. The boils are in some places. You press a point where there's no boil, it doesn't pain so much. You allow people to press, it's okay. But at some point where there's a boil and it will intense, there's a small pinch will pain you like intensely. So Krishna knows exactly that, if I send some, beautiful girl to Indra, he will not be disturbed because he has so many girls. He's not going to be disturbed by some, that he can do with some other saints and disturb them and teach them a lesson through that channel of taking care of their lust. But for Indra, he knew exactly what to do for him. He pressed that particular boil. He exactly got it. and Indra got mad. They said, how dare they don't. Try to understand, Braj was a small village. You get some idea, when you see the little Krishna, what is Braj compared to what Indra is? We're sitting on a very, very high place, enjoying, And Vrindavan is not that the whole of India was worshipping him or the whole of the earth planet were worshipping and then the worship didn't come. A small place in the world, a small portion, what is this? 84 crores, 18 crores. That's what Braj is all about. People from that place didn't worship Indra. But that was a point. He said, no way I can accept this. So he got infuriated. So Krishna knows very clearly what will really, the boil. So this pride is like a boil. And at a point, it is pressed, it pains. Sometimes, we have pride, and we don't want to accept that we have pride. And we say that, well, see, I'm so happy hearing this person's glory. I'm not envious of him. I'm very happy. But that person really doesn't really matter much to you. I mean, he's one of the performers in some other temple. He doesn't really matter. But somebody who is within your temple, who is within your close proximity, if that person does some wonderful acts of achievement, that will disturb you much more. Right? So Indra, we must understand that pride is there, and there's a particular situation in which that pride will be fully exposed. And that's what Krishna did for Indra. That's what Krishna is going to do for Indra. So, we must, as we go further in this discussion, we must understand that this pride is so dangerous. And I was just thinking of this very interesting story, very short story, which shows that how devotees, all of us, have to be so utmostly cautious constantly 24 hours about the danger of pride. We all know this famous story of this Vasudeva the leper. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to, Kurmakshetra? He came back from a place to Kurmakshetra back and to meet this Vasudeva the leper. And this person has such intense leprosy. I mean, it was so badly oozing every pore, and there were worms. I mean, can you imagine worms on your body, just all over your body? And he was allowing the worms to stay there because he felt that the worms had all the right to stay on his body as much as he has. That was his situation of his mind. That was his thinking process. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and he was just so impressed by his great humility and great tolerance. Trinadapi sunichena tarorapi saishana. It requires tolerance to tolerate that if you have even one, if you have one boil and one fly constantly comes on coming, you want to catch that fly and squeeze the fly, isn't it? If it was just one boil, sometimes if you have one boil, the fly at the same spot, or the whole body at the same spot. This person whose whole body was infected, and he was just having worms all over his body. Can you imagine the tolerance this was? We don't really understand what must be the situation of his body when his whole body was oozing and having worms. It's very intense. But Mahaprabhu Chaitanya was so impressed, he came all the way back, embraced him, and he gave him love of God. And along with love of God, he got his whole healthy body back. He became beautiful, healthy. And as we understand the story, we'll just discuss in very briefly. He was very scared, and he was very disturbed when he got his healthy body. And the reason of his disturbance was so amazing. If you just give it a deep thought, I said, the devotees, everybody around will now think of me as a great person. That you got this wonderful body by the Lord's embrace. Please, I want to have that dirty body again. Please, I don't want this body. Because pride is the number one enemy for a sadhaka, he said. And if I become proud, what is the use of all my devotional service? So better to have an infected body than to have a healthy body and pride. That's how he was so fine-tuned with the understanding that pride is number one enemy of a devotee. We must meditate upon this story throughout the day today, if possible. Throughout our life, if possible. That what was the mood of this Vasudeva the leper? In spite of getting the most effulgent, brilliant, healthy body, we all are trying to get healthy, beautiful bodies. This man got it, not by his gymnasium exercise, but by just the act of the Lord embracing him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Embrace him, he got it. And he didn't want it. Just because he didn't want that pride. Madhavendra Puri, when he said he wanted to travel alone, he wanted to leave that village. I said, because devotees will start telling them, oh, it was you for whom Gopinath stole the kheer. He didn't want that. Sometimes with some little devotion or some artificial devotion, if we are in front of deities and we get some experience of some devotion, we want the whole world to know about it. That I pressed my eyes and I got one tear. Somehow it came. So you tell your friends, don't tell anybody, but. Yeah. But that's the shallow devotion we have. But these great souls, they got the supreme mercy of the Lord perfect directly. That's how they are so conscious about this false pride. How important it is for all of us to meditate. And when we have false pride, we feel we don't need anything. I was reading a statement by one of the writers. He said, generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. Nice statement. Generosity means what? You give more than what you can. You are just generous that you can give only 100 rupees, but you give 200 rupees. He's a generous person. And pride, you need 100. You need love of Krishna. You need love of devotees. You need attention of devotees. But you take less than what you need because you feel you have. That is pride. Very interesting. A proud person will not take because he thinks he has. And there's another very interesting thing. You should not be proud of your borrowed plumes. We say this. Don't be proud of borrowed plumes. We all know what is this phrase. It comes from the British culture, where these lords would have these plumes, which would be very costly. And there would be others who would be invited in this party, and they didn't have plumes, so they hired plumes. They would just hire a plume. Okay, give me for tonight. And they would wear this very costly. But it was not theirs. They had to return it back the next day. So can you be proud of something which you have borrowed? You don't own it. You have to give it back. It doesn't belong to you. Similarly, as we always say, we are trustees of everything that God has given us. We are never the owners. We are trustees. We are simply caretakers. We should never be proud of borrowed plumes. So, as we will see this beautiful story in front of us, as we discuss this story, we will come across this very interesting episode, interesting understanding that when you do a service in a mood of being insignificant, not doing insignificant service, because no service is insignificant. What I'm trying to say is, if you do a service in a mood of being insignificant, then that is most significant in Krishna's eyes. And if you do something significant, if you do something very significant, but you feel you are significant, that is most insignificant in Krishna's eyes, and that is what we will see from Govardhan and Indra. See, Giriraj Govardhan Haridasa Varya was performing his service to Krishna in a most amazing way, constantly expanding way by giving wonderful facilities for Krishna to enjoy. But he never thought that he was great. He was thinking himself to be insignificant. But in Krishna's eyes, he was most significant. And Indra was performing very, very significant service, but in Krishna's eyes he was most insignificant. He didn't even look at him. So many times, we see, and in due course, this apparent insignificant devotee will be 100% glorified by Krishna. We have seen time and again. Many times, you feel the people who are flamboyant, who are dynamic, they must be having devotion for sure also, but many of them may not be having devotion, but they are just so dynamic, they get the prominence.
And we feel, that means only people who are dynamic, they get the prominence. So we feel, let me be what I am, just do some service. But be sure, Krishna is very much aware about your insignificant mood of service, and He will glorify you like anything one fine day. Krishna glorified Shiva's Thakur because he was significant devotee performing significant service in a mood of being insignificant. But He also glorified Dukhi, who became Sukhi, because she was doing her service. For years she was doing that service. Can you imagine? For years. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya was observing every day she was doing service. And one fine day Krishna will glorify. So be sure, this we have seen time and again in Krishna's personality, in Krishna's pastimes. Every devotee who does significant service in Krishna's eyes, even though he might be insignificant in the world's eyes, in due course he'll be glorified, if not in his lifetime, after he dies. The world will recognize his glory of his insignificant service. We must be sure about that. And people who want to be very, selling themselves or selling themselves to be, thinking themselves to be very, very important, they will get their importance. But in due course, they will have to go through their purification. Krishna will do that through His external energy many a times. Most of the time in our case actually. So through this beautiful story, we can see that Govardhan, who must be a very Haridasa Vari. He is such a humble servant. He kept on doing his service. Nobody recognized that Govardhan is such a great dude. Nobody. They just enjoyed his service. Of course, the gopis prayed to him that you are Haridasa Varya, you are the greatest servant. But in general, the people, the Brijbasis, never saw him as a great servant. But be sure, the glory of every person, not that we want to say, someday you will understand my glory, not that mood, but let me just do my service. And Krishna will glorify this. And so many examples we have seen, our dear Stoka Krishna Prabhu. Actually, he came from a very, very humble background. And of course, he became a book distributor, top book distributor. Again, when he got married, again, he had a very insignificant life in one sense, working, struggling with his life and everything. But he had a very significant devotion in his heart. And Krishna profusely glorified that significant devotion at the right time for the whole world to know. So this is very important. So I would just like to end with this few things, how as a sadhaka, what we should be doing so that we can always remain doing significant service in insignificant way. Always remain accessible to all devotees, especially your equals. Moment you become inaccessible to your equals, you must understand that you are in an Indra-like situation. Having profuse, healthy friendship with everybody is very, very important, especially for leaders. Our success is not when equals or juniors have awe and reverence for us, but when they really love us. Many times we feel, this person is scared of me, that I'm successful. Or this person is awe and reverence for me, I'm successful. But no. Awe and reverence should be there, must be there for our seniors. But with their awe and reverence, there should be love. Just if people are scared of you, you are actually in a dangerous situation. You don't want to be such a leader. For Indra, people are very scared of Indra. That he will throw thunderbolt. So they are scared. So he created that image of his. And what did Nanda Maharaj say? If you don't worship, then he will become angry. That was his image. And that's not your success, my dear friend. If an image is created of yours, if you don't please him, he'll be angry or he'll be upset. That's not your image as a leader. If people genuinely love you for what you are, that's an ideal situation. The third point, always being enthusiastic to listen to others' wonderful act of devotional service rather than being keen to share your own acts of greatness. Many times devotees have this habit of telling people, I did this, I did that. And in a guise of sending a report, they just self-glorify themselves. Prabhu, this is a report of what I did, and boom, 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 boom. And you're so eager to tell about your glories, but are you equally or more eager to hear other people's wonderful acts of devotional service? And many a times when people suffer from this self-importance situation, they don't have time to listen to other people's greatness, wonderful acts of devotion. They are just so busy self-glorifying themselves. And they don't realize it. It's very subtle. The other people realize it, but they never realize. But they're so busy, they have no time. Because they're so busy, I did this, and I did that, and I can do this, and you should do that, and because I'm telling you to do this. Third, be eager to constantly hear the glories. Because the moment you hear the glories of others, then the fourth situation will happen. The fourth situation is better to be a small fish in a big well than to be a big fish in a small well. If you are in a small situation with just few people around, you'll be a big fish. Oh, you are great. But automatically, when you come in a larger situation, you have seen when you come to when you come to say Sridama Mayapur, you might be a big leader in say Radha Gopinath temple, but you come to Sridama Mayapur, huge detail. You might not be called to speak the Vyas Puja offering there. Here you are called, please come. But there you have the Prabhupada disciples, big, giant personalities sitting there. You have become significant because you are a small fish in a big well. And that's a very good situation to be in. Rather than being a big fish in a small well where you are people glorify you. Very important. Indra was a big fish in that small well of Indraloka. Everybody was glorifying him and everything. But when he came in front of Brijbasi, he saw devotion, he realized that he was a small, tiny fish in a huge well of devotion of the Brijbasis. That's a healthy situation. Constantly reading, hearing, and meditating upon the dangers of being alone at the top. We should always be focusing and thinking of the dangers of what it is when you are alone. Because when you apparently grow or you think you are growing, you feel alone at the top. Many a times, this feeling of being alone at the top is actually an illusion, because actually you are not alone, but you simply have a defective vision and you don't see anybody around and you think you are the only person on the top. But there are people much beyond you with intense devotion. But you have a defective vision. What is it? Long sighted or short sighted or whatever. You don't see people around and you say, oh, I'm the only person here. I'm so great. And the danger is when you start thinking that, when you are all alone there at the top, it's very risky. So again, constantly meditating, and we have so many stories to really address this issue. And second, the other point is we should also be meditating upon that it is more important to live a long-lasting legacy of being a person of strong internal substance than just being a big person on the top. What is important is the legacy. And I thought of an example. A powerful spaceship also goes up in the sky, and a balloon also goes up in the sky. I was thinking, the balloon also goes up. But does a balloon create a legacy when it goes up in the sky? Do you see, balloon has gone up? It's simply filled with air. There's no substance. But when a spaceship goes up, it creates a legacy. It creates a powerful impact because it has substance inside. So just going up with this air-filled balloon-like situation will not create any fun. It is just one point it will go away. But when you have substance, and with the substance you slowly go high. Not that you think you are going high, but by naturally Krishna gives you a higher position in people's eyes. And I cannot not mention the name of personalities like Jananivas Prabhu. That here, just humbly doing his service, sitting in a corner and hearing Bhagavatam class for years, serving Radha Mother for years. But now, he was doing it since 70s. At least people knew him in Mayapur, he was known, but now the whole world knows that what a consistent devotee he is. And many, many more such examples. So this is person with substance slowly going high and creating a wonderful legacy for the world to follow. And the last thing is, there is no service that is below our dignity, and there is no service that must be done only by us and us alone. This is another very important thing. That this service, I can't do it anymore. How can you tell me to do this service? The one thing. And second thing is, this service you didn't give me. Only I can do this service. A few years back, the leaders of the temple were always used to getting invited for all programs. I'm talking about the counselors. And there was one very big big book launch. And no counselors were invited. I say, for all of us, you say, hey, how are we not called? But we realized that is not that you will be called all the time everywhere. Some apparently junior devotees will also do something and they'll be called and you will not be called. So you must understand there is no service which you can't do, and there's no service which only you can do. If you have that mood, you will never get into this situation of the Indra situation. Because any service can be done by anybody, and I'm not a specialist in any service. If you have this mood, I'm sure there are many more speakers who will speak wonderful things, but I just wanted to elaborate on this point of that how we can avoid this Indra-like situation in our own lives. Because we do all suffer from this pastime of Govardhan Puja in our hearts, where Krishna will not give us the worship that we think we deserve, and the turmoil that happens in our heart at that time. Don't we all go through that in our small or big way? Not called for giving some Vyas Puja offering, and you're waiting and you're waiting and waiting. And Prabhu, now the time is over, the devotees are sorry, the time is up. I say, oh, you didn't call me? And you feel it's exactly the situation of Indra and Govardhan Puja. Krishna didn't give him the worship. And it happens in our heart. For so many services that we do. Every time we go through this situation. But if you have in a mood that, there's no service which I can't do, and there's no service which only I can do. If we are in this mood, I think it will be a wonderful, happy situation. We'll be blissful devotees, like Sri Giriraj is always blissfully serving Krishna, and will not get into this mood and the frustration that Indra goes through. I thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.